We are live. Okay, everybody can see you.
Great. Boa noite, então, né? Primeiramente. Quer se apresentar, Raniel?
Boa noite, pessoal. Eu vou me apresentar primeiro, então, tá? Meu nome é Raniel, trabalho na Toronto School of Management, tá? Sou um dos parceiros aqui da Hi Bonjour. A gente tem a Zuli aqui com a gente, né? Então, uma das meninas que trabalha na Hi Bonjour e está com a gente fazendo essa parceria aí para trazer uma aula experimental para vocês com a Susan Lee, certo? Então, é um pequeno negocinho da gente, né? Trazendo conteúdo para vocês aí do Brasil, tá? Zuli, pode dar as ordens.
Bom, boa noite, pessoal. Eu sou a Zuli Moreira, da Hi Bonjour, como o Raniel me apresentou. Antes de mais nada, assim, obrigado à Toronto School of Management, né, como um dos nossos parceiros, uma instituição super bem reconhecida aqui em Toronto, onde eu também estou localizado. O Raniel também fica aqui em Toronto. Estamos todos safes, né, fazendo isso de casa, mas eu acho que é uma excelente oportunidade de trazer um conteúdo de qualidade, né, sobre digital marketing, uma profissão que é tendência, né, que já vem se apresentando aí com uma forte atuação no mercado. Então, a gente está tendo uma grande chance de assistir uma aula com a Susan Lee, que é professora do quadro de profissionais da Toronto School of Management. Então, ela tem aí um grande currículo que vai poder falar para vocês aí da experiência que ela já teve e também abordar as questões das ferramentas, né, do dia a dia de um profissional de marketing digital. Então, além de tudo, eu acho que é um excelente exercício para quem ainda está no Brasil, principalmente, poder assistir uma aula em inglês. Então, vale a pena você testar aí também como é que está a sua compreensão, né? Além de receber esse conteúdo de muita qualidade, conseguir verificar como é que seria a sua vida assistindo, né? Sendo um estudante internacional na Toronto School of Management. Então, a gente vai deixar vocês aqui com a Susan Lee. No final, vocês vão ter a oportunidade de ter as suas respostas também comentadas. A gente vai deixar um tempinho para responder aqui as perguntas. Então, aqui no webinar, no próprio aplicativo, tem um campo para perguntas, vocês podem digitar. E aí, no final, a Lila vai estar aqui também para responder, para poder tirar essas dúvidas. A gente vai reservar um tempo para isso. Mas todos os participantes serão contactados. Então, se você tiver alguma dúvida que você não pôde tratar aqui ainda nesse tempo, ou se você tiver interesse em fazer um planejamento mais aprofundado, se você quiser tirar alguma dúvida específica, ou, enfim, avaliar quais são os seus caminhos, né, para vir estudar aqui no Canadá, fala com a gente, fala com a Hi Bonjour, a gente pode fazer um atendimento individual, gratuito, online, para poder entender exatamente qual o seu perfil, qual é o programa adequado, né? Como é que você se encaixa, quais são os requisitos para esse tipo de programa, né, Raniel? É preciso já ter um bom nível de inglês, então é um teste online que você pode fazer com a própria instituição. Então, assim, a gente tem caminhos super flexíveis, principalmente nesse momento em que está todo mundo em isolamento social, então a gente tem condições de fazer testes online, se preparar, fazer todo o processo de matrícula, envio de documentos, isso tudo, para que vocês consigam avançar ao máximo aí com a etapa de planejamento para quem quer vir fazer esse plano de estudos. Inicialmente online, mas em breve estaremos todos de volta na normalidade, se Deus quiser, e aí pode cursar aqui também presencial, né, Raniel? Então, acho que é um excelente convite, uma excelente forma de vocês conhecerem um pouco, e eu vou deixar vocês agora com a Susan, porque ela que tem aqui o dom da palavra e o conteúdo que todo mundo quer ouvir, né? Eu também aqui estou muito curiosa para saber tudo que ela vai falar. So, Susan, go ahead. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah, we're gonna leave you here with the cam.
Okay, I'm actually going to share my screen. Okay. Everyone can see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see everything.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's get started. Oops. So I'm really excited to be here today. My name is, as mentioned, Susan Lee. I am honored and excited to discuss digital marketing and all of the exciting things happening in the world of digital marketing. My background is I'm a marketing consultant for a small business. one of the instructors. I have over a decade of experience in telecommunications and consumer packaged goods and marketing. And I graduated from the University of Toronto in the co-op program, and I'm a huge supporter of the work-study style of learning that's also offered by the Toronto School of Management and Co-op. We want to get started with a quote. The best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. Hopefully everyone agrees with that. Marketing is, just to set the tone, refers to the process of identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customers' needs and wants. The best efforts don't actually look like a promotion. Hopefully everyone agrees with that. Digital marketing specifically is the use of new media or digital technology to achieve marketing goals. Specifically, it has to do with anything on the internet or online. So many of you are probably quite familiar with it. Every aspect of digital marketing should be customer focused, and that's the main thing, but now on a digital level. So what is happening in the world of digital marketing? Today, we're going to cover what are some of the new trends that are happening this year and what's shaping our world. Then I'm going to talk about the top trends, specifically for 2020 from the Digital Marketing Institute, which is a partner that we work very closely with. And then I'm going to talk about the key elements, skills, and tools in digital marketing. So let's get started. How is digital marketing shaping our world? So as you can see, there are so many companies and brands on this page, but what do all of these companies have in common? Feel free to add your comments in the chat box. So these companies all have an online presence. They all have an online presence. Imagine a world without these options during these times. There's been a huge surge in internet usage globally, especially with everything going on in this time with the pandemic and social distancing. So I forgot one, which is Zoom, very popular in North America. I'm not sure in Brazil actually how popular it is, but this company has gone up, their stock has gone up 135% in terms of their share price since mid-March. So that just goes to show there's been an explosion of a need to be online and connected. So if you're a company, you are likely either offering a service online, or chances are you're probably promoting, or you are looking into promoting your company through digital media. So it would be hard to find a business that is not incorporating some aspect of digital marketing. How big is it really? So 4.54 billion people are using the internet. That's 59% of the global population. We're expecting it to increase by 7% on an annual basis. And then the average time spent per day is 6 hours and 43 minutes. I don't know about everyone on the call, but I don't even get that much sleep. So, and these days, being online at home, I'm probably using it double that amount. So it's clear that digital, mobile, and social media are an indispensable part of everyday life for people all over the world. But have you ever wondered just how much data is generated through social media and the internet each second? So this is a slide. I love this slide because it has the internet in real time. So you can see all of the numbers updating. You've got Amazon, YouTube, Netflix. These are ones that have spiked over the last little while. I mean, pretty much everything on this page. So just to give you an idea, in the last 5 seconds, 120,000 gigabytes of data was transferred over the internet. So this is huge. The internet is definitely making a big, is a big part of our lives. I'll bet some of you are probably just placed an order or on Amazon or YouTube today, potentially. So it is hard to find things that won't sell online. Everyone is probably familiar with Jeff Bezos. He's the CEO of Amazon. Let's take a look at some of the shopping habits. So 55% of people will search online for reviews and recommendations before making a purchase. Close to half of those people will have visited a company website. 26% visited physical stores to see, try, or fit the product. And I mean, obviously times are different in the last couple of months, but these stats still stand. In fact, I believe it's 80% of people will actually check their phones in store and review a product before they actually purchase a product. So you'll see more and more of that even happening as well. So the other piece is 23% spoke with family or friends about it in terms of having that interaction and connection with family and friends. So that's important as well. And you can see on this slide that traditional versus digital marketing is, you can see traditional is dipping down and digital is on the rise for the past 4 years, and it's expected to keep climbing. We'll probably see that number even rise the last couple of months, especially. Now, what is the difference between traditional versus digital marketing? So traditionally, when you think about traditionally, it would be like TV, radio, print, that kind of thing. Digital is more individual focused, so it's more personalized, more active. But the good news is that it allows for more of a global reach, a global marketplace. And the other thing is the ability to, that one-to-one relationship allows you to interact with customers and learn exactly what they're looking for, which helps build brand loyalty. You can track results immediately, which is something that you may not have been able to do in the past with some of the traditional means of marketing. The other thing is you can, because it's inbound, so the difference with inbound is that customers are actually reaching out to you as a business, because likely you have a product or a service that they want. So ultimately, you save money and you reach more customers for less money than traditional marketing methods. So this is obviously a great way of marketing. So let's talk about the trends for 2020. So Facebook, even though it's been around for a while and it's been in the news, it is far from dead, but it may be peaking at this time, meaning there's been a shift in the demographics that are using Facebook. So Facebook is losing ground to more of a younger demographics who tend to prefer more visual, interactive experiences like Instagram, Snapchat, and the rising star TikTok. In fact, I think it was 69% of TikTok users are 16 to 24 years old. So the shift is quite significant. And that leads us to the second trend, which is that Instagram is a hit with kids. In fact, so it's one of the most rapidly growing social media platforms. It's very popular with those under 30. In fact, 70% of them are less than 35 years old, and I'm sure most people on the call have an Instagram account of some kind. The other thing is good content still matters, and now context matters even more. So Google actually changed their algorithm over the last while, and they're getting a bit smarter about ways in which to present information. So it's more in-depth and accurate and based on user intent. So what that means is that keep writing, understanding what your customer wants, and the content that is emotionally driven, that more hits home, is something that would be more relevant for customers. So the other thing is, number 4, video is no longer an option. It used to be an option, now chances are you've probably watched a video today. In the mobile world, people are watching more video than ever before, using smartphones to watch and share videos. Video marketing is highly engaging, especially if it's live streaming. So chances are you may have checked out live streaming. Basically, that's just in real time, meaning and when it's combined with influencer marketing, then it's even more impactful. So whether you're a social media influencer or you're a traditional source like a celebrity or an athlete or a musician, having a live stream would allow for more impact. So just to give you an idea, like 70% of customers have shared a brand's video. Over half of those customers claim that watching some kind of a product video guides their decision making. So it's very clear that video content is here to stay. And from a business's perspective, so if you're planning to start your own business or you have your own business, 70% of businesses believe that it's actually helping them convert their business. So it's really helping in terms of selling. And finally, number 5, chatbots will dominate customer service. So if you're on Facebook, if you have an account, you'll notice that quite a few of the business accounts will automatically have chatbots, and a number of websites out there also have chatbots. The difference is that now it's AI based, so artificial intelligence. And as it learns, it allows for more personalized experience. And as a business, it saves you time. It saves you, you don't have to pay for vacation time, overtime pay, that kind of thing. Plus you save money. So 80% of businesses are wanting to start some sort of chatbot feature in their business. And surprisingly, almost half of the people these days actually prefer to use a chatbot than phone customer service, which just shows you how times have changed. So we've got 5 more trends in the year. Email is also far from dead. It's here to stay. It's getting more personalized. What does that mean? Basically, imagine this. So imagine you're looking up something, searching for a service online, and you're browsing, but then you close the window, and chances are, if you have subscribed to the email, it could get a little more personalized. I know personally, I went on, I think I was looking for my horoscope at one point, and I had entered my email address. This one's very personalized, but basically, within a short period of time, I ended up getting this personalized email on my life, basically. But I wanted it, so that's the difference, is that I was interested in this service. But they gave me a promotion in the email, and they gave me something that I just couldn't refuse. So it was like these kind of personalized emails, so not just a salutation, but they know exactly, what it is I want. That potentially could be something that would be on trend, and mix that in with remarketing, and that's even more effective. So number 7, interactive content will become mainstream. So what does that mean? So more people are engaged with content where you click, swipe, interact online, and according to Outgrow, 93% of marketers rate interactive content as being highly effective at educating the buyer. So that's a big deal because that makes it feel like you're actually being involved, and it's more like relationship building in a lot of ways. Next up, oh, sorry guys. So marketing and messaging apps is the other piece that is highly effective these days. And chances are you probably have WhatsApp, you probably have sent Facebook Messenger. Just to give you an idea, I know there are quite a few stats that we're going over today, but 1.3 billion people are active on Facebook, and then on WhatsApp, 1.6 billion active users. So many people are using this. In fact, with WhatsApp, 55 billion messages are sent every day. Can you imagine what that number is like now, these days when we're social distancing? So what's expected is in the next 5 to 7 years, messenger marketing is expected to be #1 in terms of marketing. So get ready for that. And then the other thing is that it's expected that a number of customers will return to a website if there's some sort of live chat option, which is very useful. The other thing is voice interaction continues to be very popular. So thanks to Siri, Google, Alexa, all of these sort of smart devices, these voice activated devices are the way that people want to search nowadays. I don't know about everybody else, but I actually have 2 Google Homes in my home, and I live in a condo. So I have one in my bedroom, and I have one also in my living room. But the difference is that with these type of devices, the way people are choosing to interact now is more conversational. So it's been shown that having more of a conversational type of search will help with building relationships. But even from a Google search perspective, it's more something that will rank you higher. So finally, omni-channel marketing. What is that? So omni-channel marketing is marketing across multiple different platforms. So social media, you have a website, apps. So many different businesses businesses connect with customers on different parts of their journey, of their what we call a customer journey. So different touch points. So I do want to cover, if we have some time, how COVID-19 specifically has impacted marketing. These trends are still applicable for 2020, but there have been some clear shifts over the last little while that will impact the way we see marketing present day. But I wanted to kick it off with some of the general trends, and then we can go into that soon. So what are some of the key elements, tools, and skills in digital marketing? What does that involve? So this is golden. When it comes to marketing strategy, there are 6 major questions that you can ask yourself. And this is really important in terms of how to think about how you're going to pull together a marketing strategy. So the 6 questions are, what are you offering? So what's the pain point? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Number 2 is, why is it important? So why is this solution important? Or why is your business or brand something that people should consider? And then who, quite possibly the most important question, is who is your target customer? Who are you speaking to? Who are you selling to? Who are you trying to help? Next up would be where. It always goes back to the customer. So where are your customers going to be? Where are they going to be? So that has to do with really understanding the day in the life of your customer. If you know that that they spend majority of their time on TikTok, they don't even touch Facebook, and they spend most of their time going out to events. If we're talking about the Generation Z or Z, then you know that there are certain tactics that you're not going to use. So that helps in strategizing. The next thing is when. When are you reaching out to customers? So this is vital as well. If you're planning to do a live stream video, you want to be able to do the live stream when people are able to engage with you instead of at a time that doesn't make the most sense. You want to be able to optimize. So that's really important as well. And then how are you connecting with customers? That's going to be what we kind of talked about, which is what are some of the different ways that you can reach out to your customer? And that goes with how well you know them. So down below these questions are just a quick snapshot into the Toronto School of Management Digital Marketing Program and what it offers and some of the skill sets, because we understand what's important when putting together a marketing strategy. Here are some of the key strategies. So we want to start, I want to talk about what these skills are and how some of these modules can actually cover these skills. So the first one is very important: plan a marketing communication strategy to position a brand. What does that mean? The module basically introduces you to marketing in general, and then what it means when it comes to branding. So you'll learn fundamentals of digital marketing in terms of what are the fundamentals. So the types of media, how to set objectives, which is really important. You'll understand what the buyer journey is, which we'll talk about on today's call. So you'll get a quick view into buyer's journey. Very, very important when marketing. Content marketing, how that ends up playing a role as well in SEO or just building the story. And then Excel for marketers, and then which is really important in terms of being able to analyze data, and then principles of digital advertising. So what does that mean? We'll talk about this as well. Build a customer profile and base, as well as build a brand. So these two pillars next to the fundamentals, and the reason why it's highlighted is because it's so important to know everything about your customer. So you want to do some research, audience research, social listening. So that's understanding how they're behaving online with social platforms. You want to know how your competitors are behaving, what they're up to, maybe even what your customers are choosing instead of your product or services, and then industry trends. That all rolls up into what's called buyer personas, which I will show you on the next slide what that means, what that looks like. But essentially the other component for your business specifically, or if you're working with an organization or a company, you want to be able to help them build a brand as well. So understanding the key elements of a brand, how to define your brand, and how to monitor a brand. So I mentioned personas, all of that fun research that you do, it rolls up into what looks like this, and this is something that would be covered in the digital marketing classes, is you get to understand what your ideal customer looks like. These people don't actually exist, but these would be ideal customers. So you would know, approximately what they're frustrated with, what their goals are, what motivates them, what are some brands they like, what are some preferred channels. So like I mentioned before, how they consume information. So like if it's social media, what is it they use? Maybe they don't even use social media, you know, all of those kind of things. So those are our personas. I mentioned the buyer's journey as well. This is so fundamental and important in marketing. Will come up again and again and again. This is the way a customer will buy. So awareness is when you first kind of find out about a product. Maybe you don't even know about the product yet. Maybe you have a problem and you want to find out if there's something that can help solve it. So this is where you want to be present as a business. You want to start to generate some interest so that they start to consider your product or your service. And then finally, ultimately, it's about, you know, giving them what they want. And so here are some examples of possible tactics that you might use. So I mentioned some of the tactics before. So it could be content marketing, social media, search engine optimization, email marketing. So we'll talk about search engine optimization shortly. But these are some things that you might actually do during this whole process. And I mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation that good marketing doesn't feel like marketing. And this is why. It's because you already have someone who's looking for something, something that they need already. And you're just one step ahead or several steps ahead as a marketer being able to deliver that to them. I'm not going to go into details about these research tools, but I just wanted to quickly show you a snapshot. Not sure, yeah, you may or may not be familiar with some of these items, but some key ones, Google Trends. It doesn't matter where you are in your business, or if you're working for a corporation, there's going to be some tools at every stage of the strategy for marketing, and it's good to know what tools are available for you. Number two, develop a strong web presence with SEO. So with SEO, the key thing here is that Google's search engine is used by 3 out of every 4 searches. So it is very popular. You can see that 3.5 billion Google searches are made every day. It's a big deal. And some interesting things to note about SEO specifically and search engine is that when you start to study some of this stuff and you start to understand some of the trends, then when you're, as an example, building a website or you're putting together an ad or you're writing an article, you know that, hey, if I have 3 to 4 words in a title, it will actually drive a higher click-through than, say, if something had one or two words in the title. Like, the data will show you this, which is it's so valuable to know this. What impacts SEO? There are so many factors that impact SEO, as you can see on this screen. But some of the key ones would be speed, some of the coming up with really valid content, so relevant content. And the other thing too is you've got the mobile experience, keywords. There's so many different things that are involved, and that is something that you would explore further. And SEO in itself is such a big topic. It's such a juicy topic, but not enough to be covered in this session. But here are some tools, just some helpful tools if you already have a website, or if you're planning to have a website, or if you want to take a look at what your competitors are doing. Ahrefs, as an example, will tell you how they're doing in terms of their SEO presence and that kind of thing. There's so many interesting tools that you can use that are very useful. And so we're going to move on to a topic related to SEO, which is the skill of being able to build a website using HTML, CSS, and WordPress. So these are something that we would cover. To give you an idea, there are close to 2 billion websites on the internet. That's a lot. There's about 6 out of 10 small businesses that don't have a website, which is alarming because you think it's such a big opportunity, which is why digital marketing and studying digital marketing is important, is because you're either going to want to start your own business and start your own website, or you may want to, as an example, be an agency and help another small business start up their own website. That could be a possibility. There's so many limitless possibilities on this, but the other thing is that it's estimated that by 2040, so in another 20 years, 95% of purchases will be through e-commerce. That's huge. And the other thing to note is that there are quite a few abandoned, when you think about shopping carts online, about 70% abandonment rate. That is so high. So you have to ask yourself the question, as an example, if you're an e-commerce business, like, how can I improve that number, or what can I do to follow up with my customer? What's the technology behind that? How can I start up the conversation again? How can I do remarketing? HTML and CSS are, I mentioned, the two coding languages. HTML is where it's kind of like building a car. So, or developing or creating a car would be involve figuring out, okay, I need tires, I need windows, I need doors, I need an engine. But the CSS would be more of the design element. So HTML is the structure, CSS is more the design. Every marketer should know a bit of HTML and CSS. First of all, if you want to start your own website, it is very handy, especially if you're going to use something like WordPress. You want to be able to tweak it and be able to do that kind of thing. The other thing too is impressing prospective employers. So you could add this to your resume. It'll make you more versatile. Have a deeper level of understanding for web developers. So if you join a corporation, you will probably be working with, or a larger company, you'll probably be working with web developers, and you'll understand a bit more about what they do. And then the other thing is, you want to be able to have the freedom, if you're working for a smaller business, as an example, or you're just working for yourself, you want to be able to take control and maybe make some tweaks to your website, and you have that ability if you have this knowledge. The other thing too is, I mentioned SEO. So if you understand SEO, when you're doing programming in HTML, you'll know certain tags and certain words and how to sort of manipulate your website so that you can make the most out of the Google search and SEO. And finally, there are very a number of marketing tools that use as a foundation HTML and CSS. So HubSpot, Google Analytics, WordPress, which I mentioned, which I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but WordPress is considered an open source type of web builder. It allows you to adapt to different types of websites, or allows you to make different types of websites because of the open source feature. It's easy to customize with themes and plugins, and so you may have just a simple blog, or you might have a more robust, like, e-commerce site. It doesn't matter. There's so many different things that you can choose from. You can control the speed with the understanding. The speed time or load time is something that's very important, as I mentioned before, when it comes to SEO, but also in general. If you take a look at Google Analytics, it's something that is really important. So WordPress will allow for you to have a little more control over that. You can own your own files, and in general, it's got a huge community. So you have plenty of support when you use it, and you don't have to be a genius. to manage it. In fact, on their homepage, they have the stat that so 1 out of 3 websites right now is built on WordPress, which is such a big deal. The tools, as I mentioned, HTML, CSS, WordPress, visual editor. So these are some things that you would cover in like a digital marketing program with Toronto School of Management. So the other thing is using Google Analytics to establish goals and action plans. So I mentioned the customer journey. From the perspective of marketing, there are 3 simple things, which is part of what's called a purchase funnel: acquisition, behavior, and conversion. So when it comes to web analytics, you're able to actually measure how someone got to your site, what are they doing on your website, what are some of the actions that they took in order for once they actually made a purchase or a purchase of your product or your service. You can actually see what drove that behavior, and most importantly, who is coming to your website. So I mentioned personas before. Google Analytics will help you build that persona, but it will also help you validate who your customer is. So over to the right, you can actually see what that kind of looks like. And so hopefully everyone's getting a sense of how everything sort of weaves together and everything sort of flows. The benefits of Google Analytics is that you can make data-driven decision making, which is huge because in the past, we weren't able to do that. With traditional marketing, it's not as easy to be able to capture all of these things. And just imagine, especially if it's your own business, you'll be able to track all of these different things. And not only that, you'll be able to tell a story behind the data. And if you're working for an organization and you're trying to pull together a plan and you're trying to sell an idea, the data is what's going to help you understand the conditions and your customers better. The other thing too is you're going to be able to understand how you're spending your money and your budget and how you're going to allocate your resources. So it's so critical to have this view with Google Analytics for helping you build your strategy. So something that everyone is going to talk about or has been talking about is ROI. So return on investment. Google Analytics gives you that visibility to be able to see what your return on investment is because you're going to be able to measure those things. So the other thing is you can create online ads and bidding strategies with Google Ads. So Google Ads has, depending on how you search, so if I were to search for the words Digital Marketing Institute, what would come up is you've got, it's a little box that says ad, and then underneath would be organic, so that's more the SEO side of things, but then up above would be more what's called pay per click, so you would pay for these ads. So there's a whole science behind this as well. But the key thing to note is that it's projected to be, businesses are planning to spend way more because they see the significance of how people search. So again, the customer journey map, the funnel that I presented earlier, organic search is more, when people are first starting to search, what are some of the things that are coming up below the line I mentioned earlier in terms of organic. And then below would be PPC, so consideration conversion. So when you're closer to making that purchase, that is when the paid ads would come in. Make sense? And when it comes to the benefits of Google Ads specifically, it allows you to be more relevant, be more time sensitive, You can control these ads. Unlike a billboard, as an example, you can't pull a billboard down off the highway. You would be able to do that in a relatively short period of time with Google Ads. And the other thing too on the right side is accountability, visibility, being able to measure things. These are all so important, and these are all things that Google Ads will allow you to do. I mentioned earlier that something that's really popular now is people checking their phones before they make a purchase. Those are called what Google calls micro moments. So when you immediately want to figure something out, that's an example. So when someone is immediately like in that mind frame, Google Ads might actually, there might be a pop-up for a deal that you might want to drive traffic for your product. But 35% of product searches actually start on Google. That's a big deal. And as I mentioned, there's a science behind PPC. So it really, there's so many elements, but it has to do with your bidding strategy, your click-through rate, your landing page relevance, those kind of things all impact your quality score. And it impacts your ad ranking. And that, of course, would be something that we would delve deeper into for a full course. But this hopefully gives you an idea of how there's much more than the eye can see when you're searching for things. So here are some of the tools that you may or may not be familiar when it comes to paid ads. That's what the interface looks like for Google Ads Manager. The other thing is being able to create and manage social media. You're probably wondering, where does social media fall in all of this? Well, social media is a big deal. Worldwide, there are 3.8 billion social media users. On average, people have about 7.6 social media accounts, so about 7 social media accounts. You'll probably recognize some of those icons on the left. This is the way of the future. Like, everyone has an account. A number of people have accounts. Even the baby boomers are on Facebook, as I mentioned. So it's really important to be where everything is. In fact, Facebook, I mentioned, is still a big deal. You can see that it ranks the highest, and then YouTube is next up. WhatsApp shot up. It's on the 3rd level. Facebook Messenger, and fifth level is Instagram at this point. So this was just updated in January by Hootsuite. But really fascinating, some of the platforms that are growing. Not going to go into too much detail here, but the main idea over here is that social media campaigns also require a strategy. But when you understand the formula, when you understand the strategy, it is so much easier to be able to run a social media campaign, or any campaign for that matter. It's always using, really understanding your customer, setting your objectives, making sure you're running the campaigns at the right time, in the right place, you're saying the right thing. It's so important. So here are some tools that we would cover. Facebook, so many different elements of Facebook in terms of audience insights and blueprint, and some of the other platforms you probably recognize as well. Next up, we have staying informed and managing campaigns with ease. So what does that mean? Not going to go into too much detail here, but when you manage a campaign, there are so many elements that are involved in order to make it smooth. So you might have an email marketing platform. I mentioned personalized emails earlier as a trend. There are actually so many tools out there that will help you with forming the right journey. So you may have noticed, if you subscribe to something, that every week they're sending you something. You may or may not be on board with it, but if you are, it's because you're interested in the material and the way in which, if you watch some of the best brands and companies, the way they deliver their messages, it just feels like they're talking to you. It feels like a relationship. And so these email marketing platforms allow you to be able to do that. And the other thing too is campaign management tools, post-campaign analysis. So whether it's social media or it's other type of tactics that you're using, there are all these different tools that you can learn about that will help you pull things together. And the other piece is understanding some of the legislations and the rules that are involved in being able to execute on a campaign. So as an example, let's talk about email again. So in Canada, we have something called CASL, which is considered the anti-spam law in Canada. So you want to be able to understand some of the laws so that you can actually do things that are legal, which is really important. And then otherwise, you won't be able to communicate as freely and to be able to build your list. And then the other thing is contract negotiations. So if you're working with a media company, as an example, let's say you're working for a corporation and you're working with an agency, what are some of the contracts that you want to negotiate? Even if you're working for yourself or a smaller company, these are some things that are definitely going to come up. Finally, another skill is, last but not least, create an effective content with copywriting. So copywriting is so critical. Why is it so critical? It's so important. I mentioned the buyer's journey. So from front to end, from the time that you first build a relationship with your customer, and I actually like to make the analogy of dating your customer, because it's almost like you don't want to attract the wrong customer. You want to have the right fit on both sides. So you want to be able to have the right language. You don't want to have to come on too strong in the beginning, even when you're dating. So you want to be able to identify the need or the want. You want to be able to search for what it is that what appeals to them. What are some of the things they're looking for? You want to be able to appeal to that. And like I said before, be one step ahead. And that's where sort of strategy comes in. And then finally, it's like, okay, when they're ready to purchase, you want to show them that you have what they want, and using the right language. And language and tone is so important at every stage of the buying cycle. So if you're taking a look at this, going back to the personas, so who your customer is, you want to be able to understand who they are, because you want to be able to speak their language. So if you have a younger audience, you don't want to be using words that don't actually resonate with them. And likewise with an older audience. There's just certain things that you'll be able to tap into, and you'll be able to, that's why some of the greatest ads are the ones that really tug at your heartstrings and your emotions, because it feels like they really understand you, they really get you. So one really interesting thing is search queries for quote unquote something to avoid has increased by 150%, which this is before the pandemic. This is before COVID-19. So it's looking like, people might be searching like that. Is blank worth it? That's another thing that has increased as well. So if you're writing an article, maybe you're writing a headline, you might actually want to consider putting that in there. So these are little tidbits that you might actually want to leverage for something like copywriting. And the world of copywriting is so vast and so important in so many different parts of business. Copywriting for all. So these are examples of copywriting, things that you might actually be pulling together. So one of the things we wanted to talk about is COVID-19. You're probably wondering, and I know we're running out of time, so I'm not going to go into too much detail unless people have specific questions. but this is important because it's really relevant. Originally did not include this in the presentation, but I wanted to stress the importance that digital marketing is something that is so relevant today. And so when you're in marketing, digital marketing specifically, look at how things change, right? So since March, store visits have plummeted by 90%. Businesses have moved online and need to get creative. So businesses that before, as an example, fitness, yoga, they're all doing more educational content right now, and people are showing up in different ways. What's called humanizing the brand and making it more relevant. It's really dominating searches. The search terms, COVID-19, coronavirus, any of those, people are actually searching by that. So for you as a brand or a company to talk about that in your conversation, talking about copywriting, if you're including it in ads, potentially, you might want to just, pivot your business and say, hey, I get you. I know that you're spending all this. And many businesses are already doing this. And this is why it's so easy to continue supporting, is when they really get you. The other thing is mobile traffic has gone down. PPC has, so the price per click, you would want to adjust that. With mobile, you won't want to put as much money in there because there'll be less traffic. But one thing to note is that because people are more cautious, you might actually want to ramp up your ads. And that sounds like the opposite of what you want to do. But if you take a look at some of the trends, there's been an increase in click-throughs, but a decrease in the cost of ads, which means the ROI overall goes up, which is why it's so important to be able to understand how to make use of these trends and how to leverage them. And so social media, email, online video, I mentioned before, all upward spikes. Just make sure if this is something you're looking at as a business owner or in the corporate side, what are you doing to add additional value for your customers? You should always be thinking that. But now, in the context of this pandemic, what are you going to do differently? So this is just a quick snapshot on some of the industries that are spiking. No surprise, finance, food, healthcare, media, so like dating sites, news sites, entertainment, so like Netflix and YouTube, that kind of thing. Those are all spiking. So just want to close off with a bit about the program. I mean, we've already, in so many words, covered some of these. When I went through all of the different skills that you're picking up by doing a program like this, this is specifically what all the modules are. So thank you for sticking with us for this long. Introduction to marketing and branding, as I mentioned before, SEO with Google. Just to recap, we did website building and design for marketers with HTML and CSS, talked about WordPress, Google Analytics. We talked about the importance of that for measuring ROI, so return on investment. We talked about social media campaigns, pay-per-click, paid ads. We talked about campaign management and regulations, how to make things easier when you're pulling together the campaigns. We talked about copywriting. Those are all different components of the program. And so I just want to cap off by talking about leveling up with Toronto School of Management and a program like this. What kind of things would you get? So outside of all those skills that we would cover, so I just gave you in less than an hour so many different things to chew on, so many different things to think about. Imagine doing a course where you get to go into more detail. Where is some of this content coming from? We're backed by the Digital Marketing Institute, which is an accredited institute. So if you finish this, or once you finish this diploma, you will also get a digital marketing associate certificate from DMI, where they provide some of this juicy information, but you also get best practices and tools along the way, and they're very relevant. So the top 10 trends we talked about in the beginning, for instance, was coming from DMI. And the other thing too is you would get a Google Analytics certification. You wouldn't get the certification. It's something we work towards. I can say though, I taught the Google Analytics module last term, and majority of the students came out of the module already with a certification. So that just goes to show how effective it could be. But the program prepares you for these certifications. So you would take that next step to be able to do it. With Google Analytics specifically, we were able to get that certification included, but with the others, we will work towards that. And then the other piece, which you may or may not be aware of, is that there would be 100% work placement guarantee. I mentioned that I came from a co-op background myself. I loved it. I wouldn't if I were to go back to school, I would definitely choose a co-op program. And then GSOM already has relationships with PwC, so PricewaterhouseCoopers, Manulife. There are trained and qualified instructors with a passion for teaching. So as an example, I would be one of the instructors, and I would be so happy to have any one of you on board. So that's essentially it with the program, and I wanted to now open up the floor for any questions. I don't know if we have any time, because I think we might have
We have just a little bit, Susan. I'm gonna help you with this. Yeah, we didn't have as much questions as I know they will have later on in Portuguese, but I got some here in English for you. There is one saying, "Hi Susan, could you talk about how the programmatic media landscape works in Canada?" What do you think about it?
Programmatic landscape. When you mean programmatic landscape, do you mean when it comes to the ad placements in Canada?
I believe it is. Let's say is Natalia. Natalia, if you can give us a clue, a hint in the chat that we can actually like answer your question, it's gonna be amazing. But let's pass for this. If she's here, she can send us chat and we can know what kind of programmatic media she's talking about, and we can answer that. Other one is the tools that we spoke about, are they free? This is a question of Paulo. So he asked if they are free for use.
I think it depends on which tool. I would say for the most part, a number of the ones that were listed were free. So as an example, is there any ones in particular that you're asking about?
He asked in general, so I believe it's good to say that some are, some not. To give two example of like which is like a free tool and which one is a paid one.
Okay. So some of the more generic ones, the ones that we would use extensively in class, like Google Analytics, obviously are free. Some of the Facebook tools are free. So any of the ones related to Google and Facebook and the major applications are free. There are other ones in SEO, as an example, that would be free up to a certain extent. Like you can use like a certain number of times, or like Ahrefs if you want to check your competitive insight. There are other tools. So it's a combination of being able to use it free up to a certain point. And then if you want to purchase it, you can. But a number of those tools are in fact free. And there probably is a version of it that would be free. But if you have a specific question about certain ones, I can look into it as well and get back to you.
Yeah, let's say that, like, if you guys have questions for us to not take as long, please, like, at the end of this section, we're gonna, like, when we close, we're gonna send an email for everybody. The people from Hi Bonjour will contact all of the attendees. If you guys have any extra question, you guys can send it to them. They will send it to me, and I will talk with Susan for us to be able to answer all the questions, right? Susan, for now, you can mute yourself. I'm going to be seeing here the other questions. There is one question that is for Zuli. Zuli, no, for Lila. Lila is here with us. Lila, can you join us a little bit and speak in Portuguese?
Oi, tudo bom?
Lila? Tudo bem?
Tudo jóia? Tudo bom,
Quer
pessoal?
mostrar o teu webcam? Tem um botãozinho que tu pode apertar ali em cima, tu pode mostrar tudo. Só o pessoal te ver. O pessoal já viu a gente no começo.
Abrindo, eu acho que está carregando aqui. Pronto, agora tá tudo certo. Oi,
Pronto,
pessoal,
então.
tudo jóia?
Tá
E
todo
aí,
mundo
qual é a...
em mute ainda. O pessoal que tiver qualquer pergunta, qualquer dúvida, pode mandar no chat que a gente está vendo, em português também agora, tá? Tem uma pergunta aqui, Leila, que o pessoal está perguntando, tá? Deixa eu só pegar ela aqui, um minuto. Que eles querem saber um pouco mais do curso, né? Se são 2 termos, se é 1 ano. Essa daqui é a Lorena, tá? A Lorena Santos. Certo. Tu quer responder essa para a gente ou tu quer que eu fale um pouco e passe para tu fazer o overview?
Fala um pouquinho do curso, eu acho que é interessante, Raniel, tu apresentar um pouquinho como é que funciona o programa, né? Mas, assim, de forma geral, Lorena, para você entender, são 51 semanas, mesmo com o tempo de férias, né? Não sei se todo mundo sabe, mas no Toronto School of Management, todo programa que você faz, a cada 3 semanas, você tem 1 semana de férias. O Raniel vai explicar aí um pouquinho melhor para a gente.
Isso, então falando um overview do curso, né, acredito que a Susan passou até por todos os módulos aí, um overview de cada um do que o aluno vai tá tendo dentro de sala de aula, né, são 51 semanas, como a Lila está falando, é 1 ano basicamente de curso, está sendo 6 meses em sala de aula, tá, 6 meses que você vai estar estudando em sala de aula, 3 meses de estágio, então depois do curso você vai ter 3 meses aí de estágio. Durante cada módulo, cada matéria, a gente tem um espaçamento aí, um tempo de break, né, que a gente fala, que é uma pausa no curso. Por que a gente dá esse break? Para o aluno ter tempo de trabalhar, ficar mais aqui, se sustentar. Então, com isso, a gente fecha em 51 semanas de curso. Então, são 1 ano, basicamente, de curso. A gente fala que são 2 termos, sim, Lorena, tá?
Excelente. E só para completar o que o Raniel falou, quando a gente fala dessa semana de férias, é aquele período que o estudante vai poder trabalhar full-time. Durante o tempo de sala de aula, o estudante pode trabalhar part-time, no período de férias, full-time.
Legal. Tem outra pergunta agora, Lili. Essa vai até mais para tu. Cidades de médio porte, como London, Ontário, tem também no campo de digital marketing?
Existem sim programas no campo de digital marketing, inclusive o mercado lá é bem interessante. Outro ponto, até para ser avaliado, é que mesmo que você faça o programa no TISOM e queira fazer o co-op fora de Toronto, você pode fazer isso, é possível. Se, por exemplo, você concluiu o tempo do programa de sala de aula e aplicou para uma vaga de digital marketing em London e recebeu a proposta para fazer o co-op lá, não tem problema, você pode fazer. Mas se quiser fazer também o programa em London, existe o programa lá também. Entre em contato com a gente, que a gente te envia aí as opções.
Outra pergunta, uma pergunta bem legal, da Mariana, tá? Esse curso é elegível para o PGWP? Eu mesmo vou responder, né?
Pode responder.
Então, a gente não é elegível ao PGWP, o porquê? A gente é uma escola profissionalizante aqui de Toronto, certo? Então, os nossos cursos são realmente nas áreas que tem mais abertura aí no mercado de trabalho, só que a gente, como é uma escola privada que tem um custo-benefício menor, é de short term, que a gente fala menor também para o aluno ficar, a gente não é elegível ao PGWP. Claro que a Lila tem outras opções aí de colégios públicos com o PGWP. Que aí
Exatamente. E às vezes a gente pode conciliar isso, de acordo com o nível de inglês, é sempre pensar que o college privado ele é uma excelente porta de entrada.
tá? Então, em alguns casos, a gente acaba conciliando aí o college privado mais o college público, porque você vai estar desenvolvendo o idioma para entrar no college público. Não sei se todo mundo sabe, mas normalmente o inglês no college privado, ele é um nível mais baixo do que o do college público, então você pode usar o college privado como a evolução do inglês para entrar num college público, podendo trabalhar, coisa que quando você está fazendo só o idioma, isso não é permitido.
Ok, outra pergunta aqui da Giovana agora. Qual o valor do curso?
Quer falar, Raniel? Pode.
Eu vou falar. Então, o curso hoje, tá, do Digital Marketing junto com a gente, ele custa por volta de $11.500, tá? A gente tem promoções durante o ano que abaixam um pouco, mas aí depende realmente de quando o aluno está se inscrevendo para o curso, tá? A coisa interessante é, as meninas têm plano de pagamentos no Brasil, certo? A gente também tem um plano de pagamento da escola, que o aluno também pode ter a opção de pagar aqui algumas vezes. Então, é bom entrar em contato com as meninas e as meninas vão passar a melhor forma de pagamento aí para todo mundo.
Exatamente. Com a Hi Bonjour, você pode parcelar em até 12 vezes sem juros. Então, eu acho que isso facilita bastante aí para o planejamento, né, geral do programa.
Legal. Outra pergunta é, como são os co-ops? A Adson ajuda o aluno a conseguir a vaga no mercado?
Essa pergunta é bem interessante.
Bem interessante a pergunta. Como são os co-ops? O co-op, como a gente falou, é o estágio, tá? Então, necessariamente, o nome já se diz, é um estágio que você vai ter para você botar o que você aprendeu na escola, no hands-on, né? Fazendo, pegando na massa, que a gente fala. Então, você vai ter o estágio para botar tudo em prática do que você aprendeu, certo? A Adson ajuda o aluno a conseguir esse co-op, a gente ajuda sim, tá? A gente garante hoje o placement do aluno, né? Então, o aluno que vem, ele é garantido que ele vai ter o placement para fazer entrevista para um estágio, né? Durante o curso, o aluno pode trabalhar também, meio período. Nesse momento, a gente ajuda ele a como achar empregos, como fazer o currículo, como fazer entrevistas. A gente não garante nessa parte, mas na parte do estágio a gente tem um placement garantido.
Exatamente. E sempre lembrar que no placement você vai passar por entrevista, não é simplesmente, né, Raniel, tem a vaga e ela é minha. Você passa por um processo seletivo também, mas a vantagem é que o TSOM ele garante a parte do co-op. Tá? E aí vai de acordo com o seu perfil, o perfil do seu co-op também.
Exatamente, isso é muito bom falar. É que a gente vai garantir essa parte do placement, né? O aluno tem que passar pela entrevista, né? Tem algumas vezes que o aluno não passa, a gente, claro, que vai ter outro placement para entregar para
outras opções,
também.
né?
Isso. Outra pergunta aqui, se dividir, vocês acham que é possível pagar com o dinheiro do trabalho aí durante o curso?
Depende muito. Depende muito do perfil, outro ponto que eu acho que é interessante falar, né? Aonde você vai morar, se você quer morar num apartamento só, se você vai alugar quarto, se você vai morar em homestay, tudo isso tem que ser avaliado, né? A gente sabe o custo de Toronto não é um custo muito baixo, mas é sempre bom também ter a consciência que quando você tem um visto de estudos, você pode trabalhar dentro da instituição. Então, por exemplo, se tiver vaga de trabalho dentro do TSOM, você trabalha no TSOM e você não perde as 20 horas semanais fora do college. Tá? Então, para quem pensa, às vezes, em manter o programa enquanto trabalha, é interessante aplicar para as vagas dentro do TSOM de trabalho também e somar as 20 horas que você tem direito fora do college, fora do campus.
Falou tudo certinho. A última pergunta aqui que entrou por enquanto no meu caso, foi até o que perguntou sobre se consegue se bancar, né, com o curso. Então, ele falou, no meu caso, eu já morei no Canadá e tenho experiência de trabalho aí. Isso é uma vantagem, né? Que você já tem uma experiência de trabalho local, então é mais fácil para você arranjar um trabalho na sua vinda para cá, na sua próxima vinda, começar a trabalhar durante o curso, então é mais fácil que você já tenha uma experiência local, então isso ajuda bastante.
E deve ter provavelmente relacionamento, né? Que isso também é bem importante.
Isso, exatamente. E o caso de se manter durante o curso ou pagar o curso quando você está fazendo ele, realmente tudo vai depender, né? Então, a gente tem alunos que conseguem, sim, mas a gente tem alunos também que, dependendo da maneira de como você está vivendo, de como
o estilo de vida, né?
É o estilo de vida, Então, depende de cada um, né? A gente vai falar assim, é melhor. Né?
Excelente.
Então, por enquanto, acabou as dúvidas aqui, deixa eu ver.
Não tem problema, qualquer dúvida para montar o planejamento junto com a gente, entre em contato com a Hi Bonjour ou vai no nosso site www.hibonjour.com.br ou manda um e-mail para o contato@hibonjour.com.br que a gente vai ter o maior prazer de montar o teu planejamento, de tirar todas as dúvidas e qualquer coisa o Raniel também sempre está à disposição.
Isso, para a gente fechar, o pessoal está falando parabéns aqui, conteúdo valioso.
Obrigada.
Tem também aqui...
Não, a Susan é excelente.
Ela é muito boa, né? A gente passou até um pouco do que a gente queria, né? Falando de vários assuntos, então é legal. A gente também está pensando em fazer, já que o pessoal, para o resto do pessoal, e depois que a gente fazer o upload do vídeo online, a gente também está pensando em fazer uma série de outros vídeos, né? Trazendo mais conteúdo na área de
Excelente, excelente.
data, então a gente vai trazer também outras opções aí para o pessoal ter uma experiência de como é uma aula da gente, né? Então, a gente vai agradecer para todo mundo que se inscreveu, também vai receber um e-mail agora no final com o e-mail das meninas, né? Se vocês precisarem, mandem um e-mail para elas, elas vão responder tudo. Lila e uma das outras meninas que trabalham juntos são ótimas, né? Então, podem contar.
Obrigada, Raniel. Gente, brigadão. Acompanhe as redes sociais que qualquer curso disponibilizado pelo Som a gente vai estar compartilhando com vocês.
E agora em inglês, Susan, are you there still? Let me see if she's still here. I think she is.
I am still here. Sorry. Yes.
I just want to say thank you for your time, like to present this like context to all the students, like the attendees that came. We're gonna also like post this like small class in the internet as well. But I want to say thank you for you to take this time to present a little bit for us. And really like people like it. Some people here said congratulations and thank you to you as well. So thank you so much, and we're gonna do it more, right? So thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thank you so much. And let me know if there are any other questions. And I think earlier what was asked in terms of the landscape of programmatic, sorry, I think it was programmatic landscape for Canada. Was that the question?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Canada spends, I would say, majority, like programmatic ad spending, it makes up majority of the digital display spends. Let's say like 90%, but I think it's projected to be even higher in 2020. But I can, if that individual wants, I could probably give her some more detailed information if she's interested.
Oh,
nice,
great.
Nice. Well, let's
Thank you very much.
Who wants, they're gonna contact the girls and they will send it to us, so it's easier so that we can get it individually, and actually you can send a longer answer as well, right?
Yeah, I'll be happy to do so. Okay.
That's amazing.
Great.
Thank you, Susan.
Right. Thank you.
Lila, once more in Portuguese now. Obrigado aí por promover isso junto com a gente.
Obrigada, Altisson. Muito obrigada mesmo, Raniel. E o que precisar, estamos por aqui.
Estamos por aqui. Então, obrigado,
Thank you,
pessoal.
Susan.
Um abraço.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye.